Yeah, it's such a great feeling to be back here in the UK and to be honoured in this particular way.
How collaborative was Denis when it came to working on this? As somebody who is such a visionary director,
super collaborative. Like working with Denis is a pleasure. It's never crazy hectic. He is a visionary. He knows what he wants. So like working with him just does allow you to come up with like special techniques because things aren't going to change wildly. So like it's an absolute pleasure.
Was there anything that was new or different from the first film, like sort of creative, new explorations that you got to do?
Everything was bigger. Like you'd expect, a part two where like you could just turn on all the previous assets. But no, everything changed. I think there's one shot in Dune 2 which uses the original ornithopter. Everything changed. Everything got bigger, and we spent a lot more time out in the desert. We came up with plenty brand new techniques.
Yeah, it was completely different to part one. We had much more action in. We traveled to more countries. We built much more rigs for, like Paul said, for helicopters, for harvester legs, and for all this stuff. It was amazing, and it's just such an honor to work with Denis. He's such a great director, and the good thing on him is what he is having in his head, in vision. He gets out of his mouth, and can explain it, and even I, as German, understand it.
What was the most exciting thing for you guys to bring to life that you didn't get a chance to do in the first film?
It was the worm, of course.
Yeah, yeah. The worms were hinted at, of course, in part one. We get a little bit of them, but we're right up close and personal in part two. So a big challenge, but really quite fun as well.
You must have been really gratified by the popcorn buckets then.
We didn't get sent any, so
We saw them though.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Hi there, Ella.
There's a mic coming
Oh,
to you.
sorry, I'm too excited. Thank you. Hi there, is it on?
We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello, Ella Kemp from Letterboxd. Congratulations on your BAFTA win. The Letterboxd community is obsessed with Dune Part 2. It was our highest rated film of 2024. There are so many Letterboxd members who have rewatched the film upwards of 50 times. First of all, what do you want to say to them? And what is a detail that you really hope that they seek out, that even 50 times in, they might not have seen yet?
50 times, that's commitment.
Yeah.
Not sure even I've watched it how many times.
Well, yeah, we've seen different pieces of it like 50 times, but yeah, look, it's an aggressive movie, and what we try to do is we try to be invisible. So, ironically, we want to do things where you don't realise that we've done things to the imagery, so that the audience feels immersed into these worlds, into riding the worm, and it's great to get such recognition, and including this from the public.
Yeah, the audience isn't thinking about it, they did our job well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
There's definitely layers of symbolism and things like that we do hide in shots, or just we considered per shot or for sequences. So hopefully people can discover those or feel those coming throughout the film.
They're going to keep watching as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, at the back. Oh, actually, let's go first and then positive back. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Ahmed from Popcornia. I want to know, what's the most challenging sequence in the film?
They've each got their own different challenges. Obviously the worm riding was a slow progression, but it was very, it took a long time, but then we successfully brought that up to a point in which Denis was very happy. The IR photography as well, that was challenging. The final battle, which Reese worked on, that was there was so many different aspects of the movie which makes it engaging, but then also it makes it a pleasurable experience, you know, going from one different technique.
Yeah, I would
to
say
another.
the final battle kind of, it was a culmination of not everything from the first film, but everything from elsewhere in part 2 as well. It literally was throwing everything at the screen at that point, which is particularly challenging.
Yeah, I think the worm ride was a really good sequence, and congrats on your much deserved award.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, somebody at the back.
Yeah.
Hello, congratulations. The film was stunning. It's Zoe Mutter from British Cinematographer magazine. So I just wondered how the collaboration with cinematographer Greg Fraser evolved this time, and why, and how you integrated the visual effects in an integrated way, realistically.
You know, Greg is very open to visual effects, and like you know, I've now worked on 3 films with him, and we have a really good relationship. And as an on-set visual effects supervisor, I love to give the filmmakers as much freedom as possible, because like I know that, you know, in post that like we can literally do anything. It doesn't always mean that you should do anything, but like I know that there's that like there are certain things which like we will be able to augment, and when you watch Denis and Greg work, they're like very organic. It's always a single camera, so like everything is very much thought through, but it can change, like because they do work in a very organic way. Like Denis can turn up on set and want to change up the way in which we had planned to do things, but it's terrifying, you know, as a visual effects supervisor, but then it's also exhilarating as well, you know, just like having to think on your feet, and you know, and I try to give as much freedom as possible in shooting certain things where like we know that there's going to be whatever kind of visual effects in there, but then when I do need something from Greg or Denis, they do actually listen and they do actually provide that, and trust me, you don't always get that, so it's a really good relationship.
You know the scene that is, we sort of think it's black and white, but it's actually sort of infrared,
Yes.
which is my favourite, I think, sequence in the whole film. How does that sort of colour palette impact the way that you work?
It's you know, it was a thing. It was an idea which Denis and Greg had come up with, and it's also a very bold idea in that, like, when you shoot that way, there is no going back. You know, like you could take a different route and shoot it normally and then take out all the colour, but that's not Denis, that's not Greg, and that's not Dune, right? So basically, you make that commitment, and we tested everything, because it was really strange in that you could. One of the early tests from Greg was that you had 2 crew members which he shot, and they both had black t-shirts, but then one t-shirt turned white, and there was no way that you could figure out what happened. But then what also happened was that the Baron's costume and the Bene Gesserit costume also turned from black to white, and Denis loved that. So basically we came up with techniques so that like, we could actually show that transition. But one thing which did catch us out, and we honestly we put everything in front of the camera to like see how it would react, and like, you know, I even put the gaffer tape in front of the camera just to see how that tone would change. So like we tested everything,